Alright, welcome back everyone. So in this video we're going to be working on setting up our markup so that we can edit the to-do items, and we're going to do that by taking the edit form from the edit view, moving it over here to the index view that we're currently on, and then we're going to hide it so we don't see it because it's actually going to repeat in a loop for each to-do item because each to-do item will need its own edit form. And then we'll use some jQuery to be able to toggle the visibility of that form. And then whenever we have the form visible, we can edit the values of that to-do item, send it using AJAX to the server. We can update that to-do item and then update the DOM with the response from the server using jQuery's AJAX. Alright, cool. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is take this form right here and move it over to here. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this new item button because we no longer need the new page. So back over here in our code, we're going to go into partials, header. Here's this new item button. Go ahead and get rid of that. Save. We can close the header.ejs file now. And now what we want to do is open up the edit view. Okay, I can change the highlighting here. And we'll take the entire form. We'll go ahead and leave out the edit item h1. So we'll just take the form and we'll copy it, go back to index. And now inside of this todos.forEach loop, what we want to do is right above the to-do text. So inside of the list item tag, we're going to paste this in here, and then we will give the form a class. So we'll say class is equal to edit item form, and that will allow us to initially hide all of the edit forms and then toggle them whenever we need to use them. So inside of our style.css, we'll go ahead and select the edit item form and default it to display none. Cool. So we'll go back to index. This form will be hidden, and we can go ahead and look at that now. We refresh, no form, but it is hidden for each one of these. So we'll go back to our code, and now what we want to do is inside of our AJAX, we are going to so here, this is done, so we'll just put some semicolons on that and go down to the next line. Okay, so we're going to use jQuery to add a click listener to the edit button. So we know that, let's see here, if we go back to index.ejs, we have the edit button right here. So if we take a look, here's our edit buttons here. These are actually anchor tags that are styled to look like buttons. We don't want the anchor tag functionality anymore. So I'm actually going to go back to the code and change the ahref, get rid of all that, and just change it into a regular button tag. And so then of course we have to change the closing anchor to a closing button. We can leave all of the classes we have here, and we'll give a extra class of edit button. That way we can easily select all of the edit buttons. And now if we use the edit button class, we can go back over to our AJAX JavaScript, and we can use jQuery to select it and add a click listener to it. Okay, so the problem that we're going to run into is if we add a click listener to it, that's fine. All the buttons that are preloaded whenever we initially visit the page, they'll all have a click listener. But if we add a new item, that dynamically added item using jQuery, what we did in the previous video, it's not going to have a click listener unless we do it in a certain way. So normally we would do like a dot edit button dot click function blah blah. In this case, we need to select a parent element of the edit button that is static on the page, so it's always there. Put the listener on it, and then any dynamically added elements that are children of that element will have a click listener added to them. Okay, so we can look at index and we can see that this loop, all this stuff is what we add dynamically whenever we were doing what we did in the last video. So here, this unordered list is actually static. It's always going to be here. And it's perfect because it already has an ID. So we'll take the to-do list ID, copy it, and go back to ajax.javascript, and we'll replace this edit button here with to-do list. That's an ID, so we put the hash there. And instead of doing a click, we use a on, and then we tell it as the first argument as a string that it is a on click. Okay, so on click, anytime an edit button is clicked, then we're going to do something, and that something is going to happen inside of this callback. Okay, so the something that we want to do in this case is toggle the edit item form, the closest form to the edit button that was clicked. So if we go back and look at our code, if we click this button, we want the edit form for go grocery shopping to appear. This one, the one for go to the gym, and so on. Okay, so we'll go back, and what we can do here is we have this as a context, sorry, $ this, and this is going to be the edit button that was clicked. So we'll say this dot, and then we'll look for the parent. So if we go and we look at index.ejs, we can see that the parent is this div pull right, and then a sibling to the parent is the edit item form. So we want to get from the edit button up to the parent, over to the sibling, and then this is the form. So we'll go back to ajax.javascript, we go to the parent, and then we look at all the parent's siblings, and we get more specific there. We say, okay, we want the edit item form specifically, and then once we get the edit item form, we want to show it. Okay, so we'll save that, put a semicolon down here. All right, great. If we go back to our browser and we refresh, now if we click on edit on any one of these, great, now we have the forms for each one of these. Problem is, if I click edit again, the form doesn't disappear. We would like the ability to have these go back and forth, so we can actually change the show to a toggle instead of a show. Okay, so if we go back here, we refresh, now if we click edit, we click it again, and it toggles back and forth. Great. So now what we want to do is whenever we change the text here and we click update item, we want to do what we've done previously, hijack that request, and then use AJAX to send our own request. Great. So we'll do that in the next video, and we'll see you then. Thanks.